So pretend that we're not on video.
Okay. G'day, it's Leonard Dad here, and I help fathers explore their masculinity within the modern family. And today I've got a special guest in my conversation series, and her name is Ness. That's all I know her as, Ness. And as we know, I've got two beautiful daughters, 3 and 6, and constantly we're coming to those questions of what beauty is and how to navigate beauty. And so I've got Ness here, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute, but I'll leave it this simple. Ness was a beautician, is that right, Ness?
Yeah, so I still work in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
but I've kind of changed that a little bit, and I always come back to the industry.
Okay, so beauty is such a wide-ranging concept. Can I start just by asking you what's your idea of beauty in the beautician sense?
Sure. So firstly, my name's Vanessa. You can call me Ness. I started studying beauty when I was in my 20s, and I enjoyed that career for a good 10 years. I then went on to study dermal science because I loved the skin so much and I needed to know everything about it. And just recently, I've been working in the disability section doing some vacation care.
Okay, so was there, and we've spoken about this on another conversation, but was there something like in the beauty industry that sort of didn't sit with you right, or something you wanted a bit more, or something that made you make that change? What was it? So what was it that made you make that change into disability?
So I think that the definition of beauty as a whole would be your reflection in the mirror and, as a whole, what you see. But for me, beauty was always something that was far deeper than that. So, for example, in Western society, it might be about what size body shape you are, or what color hair you have, or what color skin you have. And then we also go into like other countries where you might have lighter skin, and that's what makes you pretty. Whereas in other countries, women might spend, and males might spend lots of time out in the sun trying to get their skin golden brown. So for me, beauty comes from within, and that's a whole beautiful yellow brick road kind of experience.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned like other cultures in there, because like I see beauty as such a complex thing. Like when I'm trying to explain it to my daughters, or when they ask me questions, I find it really hard to put it into a nice, neat little label. And just moving along with the complexity of their journey with beauty is, I think, where it's all at. But talking about other cultures, like it might be seen in our culture, oh, makeup is just the wrong thing. It sends the wrong message. But then when you put it into other cultures, the makeup seems to work so well. So it lets people put on a different mask and experience different things. It's not always tied up with beauty even, but it's, yeah. So have you explored like makeup within other cultures?
So I guess what I've explored is, because I've come across so many different women in the industry, again, different sizes, different shapes, all wanting to have that, beauty that radiates from them. But a lot of the time people go on this mission to find out what it is that will make them pretty without wanting to sort of go on the inner journey and find what sort of lights them up or what their passion is. And so I would say that my experience is that women that have been most beautiful in my life would be those that radiate from the beauty from the inside.
Yeah, and I've found that too. But when I put it into, the girls are in the background having a cry at the moment. I definitely find that as well. Then when I put it into real world terms and think about myself and my own beauty, like I can't get, I'm just constantly thinking about how other people would see me. So as you can see, I just wet my hair before we started. And not that I spend ages, I don't put makeup on, but I'm still, as little as it looks like I put into my personal appearance, I constantly am thinking about how other people see me. And I'll let
Yeah,
people
and
on a
it's
little,
funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of the time, for me, I just throw my hair up into a quite a messy bun most of the time. Um, and I've been told that I need to have it neat and tidy and wear red lipstick and whatnot in the industry. And I guess that was where I kind of broke society, and I didn't want to just be kind of cornered into a beauty box. So wearing makeup doesn't have to be as taboo as, oh my gosh, she's trying to hide bad skin, or she's trying to hide, under the makeup. Because I guess the most people that have stood out to me are the ones that have glowed from the inside.
yeah,
And makeup could just be a beautiful thing, as similar as combing your hair or putting on your clothes.
yeah,
Like for me, when I kind of didn't leave the industry, but when I worked in the industry so long, I felt like I always had to be pretty, and my hair had to be tidy, and I had to always be like, well presented.
yeah. And I can
And so the
imagine,
weekends would be just like scruffy hair and no makeup, no shoes. It was just like so liberating to feel free.
yeah. And it's interesting because you can really go with that look of, I haven't put any time into my look, or you could go with the look where it's quite obvious that you've spent time on your look, but
Mm-hmm.
it really does boil down to deeper things and intentions. So I've always thought, like, even if you see a guy, I always use the example of a guy
Mm-hmm.
who's combed his hair and it just looks a little bit cheesy, it still is attractive because you're like, oh, this guy cares about how he looks. And so that can actually be beautiful. Even if you look at the hair and you go, oh, I'm just not feeling the hair. But the fact that he's gone through the intention of, making himself presentable, it sort of shows that he cares about what people do think. But then it's complex
Yeah, and
because then you go, oh, well, you only care about what people think about you. And I think it's just something we can't get away from, really.
mhm.
Because we're part of societies, part of groups. It always seems I can never get away from how other people perceive me. It just seems to be that lurking thing that always comes up. But you were going to say something?
Yeah, well, I actually wanted to compliment you. Yes, you have done a sort of comb over look today. Well done. I would put it down to an example of somebody that you've met in your life. It could be a male or a female, and they had that something about themselves, and it wasn't, you couldn't really put your finger on it. So it was more that you were irresistibly drawn to them.
Mm.
And it could be, again, male or female, and it might just be a friend that you absolutely love being company with. So I guess that's where I like to take the beauty thing that step further, and it's more about how you present yourself, and the clothes that you wear are just an expression of who you are, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and
Someone that might light up the room and not be conventionally fashionably beautiful, um, that would be someone that embraces beauty to me.
yeah, yeah, I think so too. But I'm just entranced by the complexity of it because so there may be, like the example you just gave, there may be someone that really just like messy hair and just this is me, I'm here. And then you and I would probably both sort of like that and sort of be drawn to that glow.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I'm always thinking from the perspective of my younger girls, when they see that, they go, and it can be confusing because you see that and you go, oh, okay, so that person's glowing, I can feel it. So I need to have messy hair and I need to follow all those superficial things that person's done. So as kids and as adults, I think we see examples that we like, and then we're like, well, if I just copy those superficial looks, which beauty can definitely, involve, then I'll be ticking a lot of boxes and I'll be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So like an example might be, like my girls might watch TV and watch Beyonce on stage, and she definitely has that confidence on stage, and you're like, yeah, that's cool. You know, she's showing quite a bit of skin, she's confident, her moves are confident. And then my girls might be like, well, if I do all those things, I'll be beautiful and confident. And then but then I always imagine if I invited Beyonce over for dinner, I always wonder how would she dress, and I don't think she would actually look like and sound, and the whole thing wouldn't be there. And I'm not sure my girls understand that. And it's just, to me, it's just such a complex thing. And the way that I do it with my girls is they might have those people that they watch on TV and stuff, and I sort of go along with it, with what they're perceiving, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I just wait for those teachable moments where I can say, oh, but you could probably look at it this way as well, or even say to my daughters, do you think if Beyonce came over for dinner, I'm not sure she would, but do you think she'd come through the door bouncing like that? And what do you think she'd actually wear when she came to dinner?
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good question, because I doubt that she is, because she's on stage, she's an expression of herself. She's on stage, she's performing, and obviously that's, you know, somebody that she's trying to, or she's just embracing her beauty, right?
Mm.
But if she, I think it would be a little bit more relaxed.
So you think it
I
would
don't
be?
think that she'll be dancing in the lounge like you expect her to.
Yeah. I just, yeah, I think when or even, I won't even use my girls as an example. When I see people that are beautiful, it sometimes is like a turbocharged version of their inner self, and that's what we're sort of attracted to sometimes. But then as we look at it in reality, it's not always like that. People sort of wake up differently, and the first 10 minutes of what they look like in the morning is completely different to what they might look like at 12 o'clock.
Before coffee? I
Yeah.
think that's a really good example. And I guess a lot of younger girls really struggle with the fact that going to the beach, you know, in their teenage years might be very different to, you know, meeting up with their friends and so-called boyfriends in like another scene. So I guess when we speak about beauty, it's not skin deep. Or is it skin deep? I think I just
No, I love it. I love it because it's so complex. I'm constantly looking for like a little phrase or a little label that I can just give my daughters and say, this is what beauty is, and then run with that. But every time I look at it and I try to really bring it into reality, I can never find that one phrase that's going to fix it. And
well, when we spoke about that person that lights up the room and they radiate from their soul, I would say that that particular person is embracing who they are. They're accepting parts of themselves or all of themselves, and they appreciate exactly what they've been given. So beauty is not a physical appearance. It's more about, you know, what lies beneath and embracing exactly who you are.
and that can be
And that comes from within.
It does. So beauty comes from within. I'm going to take that phrase and I'm going to hold it
Yes.
on my heart. I do love
Perfect.
it. So thinking of my daughters again, I sort of, there's like this holy grail picture, and I think when they do get to 16 and then they come out wearing those clothes and with a look that I'm just like, whoa, hang on. I feel like maybe I should have done all the work preceding that, so that the conversation we have on that night will sort of just flow a bit more and be open to the complexity. And it won't just be like, I'm just going to go out looking as sexy as I can, just because that's what I think everyone needs. So how
Well,
do
I
you...
think
Yeah.
it could be an interesting time, like a 16-year-old dressing up to go out. I would say that that comes back down to earlier in life when they had role models. because what we try to do as children and when we're growing up, we try to mirror the people that are closest to us. And that can be quite scary because, you know, for a mother that's always dressed quite well and is always covered up, they've got these kids coming out of the bedroom in like stockings and skirts and glitter and frilly things. Or for a 16-year-old, it could be somebody that's, you know, wearing a really short dress, and it's like, okay, that's not appropriate. So I believe that that comes back to having structures in the home and good role models, and expression doesn't have to be, you know, big bust, small nose, perfect hair. Again, it's just about expressing yourself, and that's what clothing is. We
Yeah.
choose different colors of items because we want to express ourselves. So that could be an interesting time having 16-year-olds.
Yeah, it is, and I sort of think in phrases, and I always get the phrase in my head that girls always marry their father, like an example of their father. So that's just constantly playing through my head as well. So like my perspective on what beauty is, which probably will be developed as my girls grow older. I'll be having these conversations, and then they'll get the picture. Oh, my dad would marry this sort of a person, and then I imagine, you know, they may not, that they would marry someone that has the same similar values to me. So I guess it's partly my job to sort of talk about those values as we go. I had a funny conversation with my daughter this morning. So I've shaved my beard last night. I just did it just because I felt like it. And then I woke up and my eldest daughter was just like, it took her 30 seconds to get over. She's like, but you shaved your beard. What? Why? What happened? And I said, oh, do you still love me? And she's like, yeah. And then I said, oh, do you think I'd love you if you shaved off your beard? And she goes, oh, I wouldn't have a beard. And I said, do you think I would still love you if you chopped off all your hair? And she has really long hair that she has a lot of value in, places a lot of value in. And it took her just that extra couple of seconds to be like, yeah, of course you'd still love me if I chopped off all my hair. And I guess to me, that's with the complex thing that beauty is, all those tiny little conversations and moments, sort of the journey that I take with my girls for us to build what we think beauty is. You know, and I can't impose my values too much, but I've also prepared myself for that holy grail moment when she's 16 and she's ready to go out and she really is wearing revealing clothes. I have to be prepared to be like, well, if that's what she sees in that moment as beauty and that's what she's going to run with, I've sort of prepared myself to be able to deal with that. So anyway, they're just, I keep talking about my daughters because I can't get off the just can't get off the subject.
Well, it's a big thing, right? It's a scary moment of like, oh my gosh, what are my girls going to turn out like? Who are they going to marry? What beliefs are they going to have? And hopefully they turn out all right.
Yeah.
You just have to like shoot for the stars and pray for the best.
Yeah. And beauty is just one of those things that, you know, we impart our values onto our kids and sort of go on that journey. But yeah, to bring the conversation back to beauty, how did you see yourself as a teenage girl? What sort of journey did you go on?
Well, it's funny because I actually enjoy seeing the teenagers growing up these days because they're not really molded into this one sort of particular looking woman. And so I quite love that because we've got all different types and they're all embracing who they are, hopefully. And for me, I don't know. I kind of struggled through my teenage years. I wouldn't say that I knew that I was beautiful or that I embraced certain things about myself. I actually played the sheep. So I thought that my best friend, and this comes down to role models, I thought my best friend was the most beautiful, friend ever. Anything that she would say and do, I was like, yep, that's perfect. She'd often tell me that I should wear her clothes. So I usually wore her clothes because I'm like, okay, yeah, because I want to look like her. And I didn't really, obviously, I was just shadowing me and I was just mirroring somebody else. And that can happen. I mean, we can have role models and people that we aspire to, but it's all about not letting that go too far where you let other people dress you and you let other people set goals for you, because then you're not really getting a sense of your own identity.
Mm. And that's the
So
thing.
it took quite some time to, and I'm always still learning about beauty and what makes us tick and what lights us up. um I would say that yes, I could express myself as a child, but I didn't really do it because I was just happy to go along with the norm of what was going on. So being an adult, I definitely express myself differently. I like to dance, sing. I do some yoga for, moving energy in my body, regular massage.
Yeah.
And again, that's all about beauty from within.
Yeah.
The food that we eat is very important as well
Yep.
to
And
bring out that outer glow.
yeah, I think talking about like ourselves as adults and comparing that to our earlier years as the teenagers, I sort of feel like sometimes like we've had the advantage of having all these years of figuring out all the things that are going to help us and what we think beauty is, how to take care of our bodies, do yoga, experiment with all this stuff. And we've sort of, to some degree, by our age, sort of figured out who we are a little bit. When we're teenagers, we're still in that experimental sort of stage. So we're likely to do things that are not what we would wear when we're older. And yeah, creating that space for teenage girls and boys to have a bit of a play with what they wear and with.
Yeah. And that also comes down to having your own definition of expression. It's like we need to kind of go back to basics, and getting into your teenage years is obviously a time when you define yourself. So for me, and obviously my younger self, I would say that you obviously need to figure out what you like as a person and what lights you up inside. And that also comes down to being passionate and confident as well, which can be quite tricky when you're still in your younger years.
Yeah.
Still building that sense of identity.
Yeah. So you yourself now, you've come to some sort of a peace, I guess you would say. Like you've found your identity more so than you may have when you were a teenager. What's
Yes.
your beauty regime now?
My beauty regime. Well, obviously, I can't be a dermal therapist and not look after my skin. So when I was a teenager, and the reason why I got into the industry is because I experienced like hormonal acne, I guess you could say. So growing up, you're exposed to like so many different things, as well as, hormones. And they can play havoc on your system as well. So for me, I thought that I wasn't very attractive because I had like some spots on my chin or something. And then the more that I focused on that, the more that would fester. I would pick at my skin, I would carry on. I had all of the tools under my belt, but I couldn't quite figure out what I needed to do to clear my skin. So I just get back to basics, and I clean my skin every day. I use some anti-aging serums, and that's as simple as like A, B, and C. I wear sun protection
Explain
every
that
day.
one to me. What's ABC?
Oh, well, we'll just say like A is for aging, aging and acne, because it helps with cell turnover. Vitamin B, and these are like, imagine making a smoothie every morning for your body to make yourself feel good, for you to bounce through the day and for your skin to glow. So then B is for bounce and hydration.
Mm-hmm.
And then vitamin C is for collagen and correcting. So if you've got like lots of freckles or pigmentation, then we use obviously a corrective serum like vitamin C.
Oh, cool. So is that something that
Sun
you...
protection every day without fail, because that is like an insurance policy for your skin.
Okay. I pretty much just wake up and I put a bit of cream on, and that's about all I do. My skin's a bit red.
There's a great a write-up I saw on Facebook, and it was saying about a guy has one bottle of like shampoo and he cleans his face, his hair, his beard, and then goes about his day.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. The other day I was making up some hand sanitizer, so I put some essential oils in there, and I was thinking I need this to bubble. So do you know what I went and got? I went and got some shampoo, and I put that in with the essential oils, and there was my hand cleaner. So yeah, shampoo does everything.
I love that you were thinking cleaning, because then when you're using the hand sanitizer, it's just going to be all gooey like dishwashing liquid.
Mm, mm. Yeah. All right. So I've got a little quote here that I wrote down from one of the things that my girls watch, which is called Rainbow Rocks. So they're cartoon characters, and I don't know. I just thought it would be interesting to talk about. And it goes like this. And you can imagine a children's cartoon character singing this, or you could imagine someone like Aubrey Marcus saying it, and I can imagine how it would completely change the how it would be perceived. So it says, "I'm so good that you can't defeat me. Yeah, I'm as awesome. Take caution. Look out for me. I'm as awesome as I want to be." So there's some lyrics from some of the songs that my girls listen to. And it's related to beauty and confidence and that sort of thing. So they're really like confidence building lyrics. Yeah, and I just think, again, back to the complexity and the journey of beauty and that inner confidence. I think that would be, if my girls were following those like really confident sort of lyrics, I think that's awesome. But I'm always looking out for that teaching moment that I can say, oh, well, like, is it good to be like, if I feel that they're becoming cheeky basically and like getting a bit too confident, having those conversations. I don't even know why I brought that up, but I just...
I was hoping that you were going to get the guitar and actually play the... When you said it was a quote and then some lyrics, I was like, oh, this could be good.
Yeah. But no, I thought I'd bring that up because to me, it brings back the complexity. So they sound pretty cool, those lyrics, but the same, like, and with this beauty thing, as soon as something sort of has that really definite, sort of straightforward, understandable feel, I then sort of go on further, and I'm like, well, how does that really fit into life? Let's say if I gave you my two daughters, they're 3 and 6, and I'm not against like simple phrases. What are some simple messages that you would give my daughters if I handed them over to you for like 2 weeks and they were hanging out with you, going through your beauty regime, seeing you as a role model? What are some just real basic messages that you would give my daughters?
Well, I wouldn't go too far as to tell them my 7-step skincare routine, because that's not important.
So say that again, 7 steps of...
A 7-step beauty routine.
Okay, yep. You could.
We would probably need a whole new video to go through like what a skincare regime looks like, because it can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. And that is the same with beauty and growing up. Like you can think that you want to look a certain way or you want to act a certain way, but really you just need to find what sort of lights you up and be able to express yourself. So for me with the girls, I actually was with a client this morning and we started off the morning with some yoga.
Mhm.
And that was just a really light stretch. It was just, feeling into our body. We felt a bit stiff in the shoulders, or, our legs might be a bit sore. I live on the 3rd floor, so lots of walking. I would, I'll say maybe like 5 things. I would cover that we're stretching our body and feeling into our body, because our body holds a lot of answers. We would focus on nutrition and it being something really nutritious. Like I always say, eat from the ground. So whether it be like fresh fruit and veggies, they all came from the ground. Potatoes are really grounding, rather than something that's from a packet that has lots of artificial flavors and nasties, because you don't know what's in the packet. We would get as much fresh air as possible. Being out in nature is really grounding and amazing for, just expressing yourself and being free. And that also comes down to our little sensories. So what you see, what you feel, what you hear, because we get so busy in life that we're just operating like robots and we're forgetting that, oh, we're so lucky to have sun in our skin, or, some wind on our body. It feels amazing. So they would be my 3 main, and then the rest would be expression. So dancing, playing, painting, glitter, all of the fun things. And they're not being such a focus on what beauty is, like the beauty box, because it's huge.
Awesome.
And it would also involve lots of building confidence. So role plays are amazing. Like we were both so nervous to get on this video because we're like, oh gosh, I need to actually see myself and talk to a screen. But I think it's really important, because I'll never forget being at school and having to do a speech. And I just wanted to have all of these cards, and I just wanted to like read the cards, because I didn't want to look at myself and I didn't want to look at the audience. And I'm sure that you could help us out with a little bit of, role play.
Yep.
But
This all sounds awesome.
yeah.
I'm going to send my girls over for
There would be some hula hoops. There would be lots of fun stuff, like looking at pictures in books and journaling. And that comes naturally to me because I feel like I'm a big kid in an adult body.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, I was serious about that. Like, I think when I look at you and I listen to you, I feel that you feel comfortable and that you would have the tools and the ability to cultivate and go on that journey with my daughter. So that's awesome. So I'm going
to and I think it's important to also not take life too seriously. So I'm sure that the routine in the morning of getting kids off to school can be quite, intense. It can be like, have you got your lunchbox? Have you got your drink bottle? Have you got your bag?
Yeah.
And so I guess having a routine makes things a lot easier. So making lunches the night before and just being prepared for the day, so it's not such a scrambling mess.
Awesome.
So routine and just letting things naturally flow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll pack their bags and I'll get them. But thanks for spending some time with me and going through the complex label and the complex beauty box that is beauty.
Amazing. Well, I hope that we covered everything and didn't waffle on too much.
Oh, even if we did, that's all good. So thanks for spending some time with me, and might have to check in the future and let you know how my girls are going.
Amazing. Thanks, Leonard.
Awesome. Thank you. Learner Dad here. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more videos about parenting, about fathering, about how masculinity fits within the modern family unit, then jump on, subscribe, and hit notifications so you know when an awesome video like this one comes up. Thank you. Learner Dad signing out.